Good morning, friends. So, I'm Mamta Karkar, and continuing with the last lecture, we will be taking the next lecture discussion on our Unit 5 of subject judicial process, in which earlier we have seen what is equivalence theory of justice, and justice is nothing but nothing more than the positive law of the stronger class. So, what is mean by this statement? So, if you can first of all understand what is the meaning of equivalence theory, so that is more important to understand, and then you have to relate it with the concept of justice. Earlier also we have seen many definitions from great philosophers of the justice, and then we also studied what are different kinds of justice, what are the theories of justice. So here what is mean by equivalence theory. So let us see what is equivalence theory. The two states, they are individualistically equivalent, or the short equivalent, when all individuals are indifferent between them, unanimous indifference. That means कि when there is something similarities, uniformity in between all the people, all the persons, then it is, we can say that it is equivalence. So at the same meaning, if you apply this to the equivalence theory of justice, so you can relate that the justice which gives equal satisfaction, equal benefits to all those who are needy, who are in need of the justice, then it can be seen as equivalence theory of justice. Now we will see what is the principle of equivalence. ઇક્વિવેલન્સનો મિનિંગ શું છે? તો ઇક્વિવેલન્સ ઇન જનરલ આપણે જોવા જઈએ તો એનો મિનિંગ છે કે ભાઈ બધા માટે સમાન. પણ જ્યારે લોના સંદર્ભમાં આ શબ્દ યુઝ કરવામાં આવે છે ત્યારે ઇક્વિવેલન્સ થિયરી ઓફ જસ્ટિસ શું છે એનું મિનિંગ આપણે જોઈશું. સો ધ પ્રિન્સિપલ્સ ઓફ ઇક્વિવેલન્સ that consist of considering properties in states equivalent in this sense to actual one. So given that the actual state has to be possible and may be required to have some desired properties, some other properties may be better satisfied in other. So equivalent states, or that status, or you can say situation, or freedom, or equalities, or highest sum of the valued items. So all these are the perceptives that depends on a person and his concept of justice that he is taken in. So we will see how, and so we will see how this equivalence theory or philosophy of equivalence theory or principle that effect on the concept of justice, and what actually mean by the equivalence theory. So the general theory of equivalence is outlined, and it has been accepted by the philosophers in ancient time for the greatest satisfaction, for the greatest application of the law to the society at large. Okay. So the principle of equivalence is manifested in cases when the value of the material or spiritual benefit obtained by the object of legal relation corresponds to the cost that is incurred in the process of fulfilling a legal obligation in this legal relation. So at the same time, significant part of property and other relations directly contradicts the principle of justice. Most of when a judgment or decree or order is delivered by the court of law, it is related to the greatest harm that has been done by the accused person to the victim, or the greatest injury that has been done by the defendant. So here again, the sole intention of making justice by the court of law is related to the greatest compensation or in the form of remedy, and most of it is in terms of punishment or in the terms of property. Now, whether this relation is actually matches or actually equivalence the principle of justice, so that is also a question that we have to think about. So in legal literature, that essential feature of law is justice, and when we think about the various theories of justice, we can understood it as a retribution of equal for equal, or it can be uh, something that compensation for those who are in need of that, or it may be a broader concept. So now when we are thinking about the equivalence, does it actually makes equivalence or balance of the justice when a decree is passed by the court? So, in any case, different things can be the object of exchange, and by virtue of this, the exchange can only be equivalent but not equal for equal. So, in this case, equivalence may have certain fluctuations in one direction, or another subject may be wrong in estimating the use value of acquired things. It may be placed in such conditions that an equivalent exchange is impossible for the objective reasons, as it is in the case of hiring workforce for a capitalist, an entrepreneur. So the relations that people enter into in the process of social production or material and spiritual benefits, so it constitutes considerable. So, if not the greater part of public relation regulated by the law, all such relations oriented to obtaining a socially useful result that determined by the specific of the created material benefit. So, whenever the concept justice is applied, the fair distribution is most important part, and it should be fairly distributed among the all persons. So the different theories gives that justice is from a different angle, but particularly when we are thinking about the equivalence theory, it says that justice is nothing more than the positive law for a stronger class. So what is mean by this a stronger class? So let us see the at first glance the concept of equivalence that largely coincide with the concept of equality. So both characterize something identical which can be inherent in different subjects, objects and relations, but there is a fundamental difference between them. So equality characterizes the identity of objects, phenomena and good for any one or several of the inherent quantities or qualitative properties. So citizens have equal political, social, economic rights and enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights or the country's current constitution. So the rules of law that have the same logical structure. So the bodies can have equal weight, the distances, equal length and so on. So equivalence has characterized equality, but it is equality of the inherently unequal. આપણે જે કહીએ છીએ ને કે સમાનતાનો ન્યાય છે, એ સમાનતાનો ન્યાય ખરો, પણ એ સમાનતા જે લોકો વારસાગત રીતે પરંપરાગત રીતે સમાન નથી, અસમાન છે, એમને સમાનતા આપવામાં જે આપણે ન્યાય કરીએ છીએ એ સમાનતાનો ન્યાય છે. Persons who have the same legal status and focus on the same aspects, they can also compete with each other, but in no way પાર્ટિસિપેટ ઇન ધ સેમ રિલેશન. એટલે જે સમાન પરિસ્થિતિમાંથી આવતા હોય એમના માટે સમાન કોમ્પિટિશન આપણે રાખીએ તો એ સમજી શકાય. પણ જે વિભિન્ન પરિસ્થિતિમાંથી આવતા હોય, અલગ અલગ કન્ડિશનમાંથી આવતા હોય એવા લોકો માટે આપણે સમાન રૂલ્સ બનાવીએ તો એ પોસિબલ નથી. એને આપણે ઇક્વલ જસ્ટિસ ના કહી શકાય, એ ઇક્વિવેલન્સ થિયરી ના કહી શકાય. સો legal relation is entered by the persons provided that in different goals, they have different goals, different legal statuses, they have different statutes, they accordingly different objects. So in a legal relationship, everyone get what they do not have. For this, they actually enter into a legal relation and give what is less important, less valuable for them in this situation. So this dissimilarity of the objects for the sake of possession of which person enter into legal relation generates significant discrepancy in their rights and obligations. The right of the person should not be violated in any circumstances. At the same time, there should not be injustice with the other person. So this is what the equivalence, legal relation that can determine the equivalence of their qualitative different actions in a fundamental problem of legal scene and legal practice. So consequently, necessary condition for the following of principle of equivalence is the search for the basis by which qualitatively or quantitatively different material, spiritual benefits, services or other social values can be considered equivalent. So such basis is something third in the form of natural or artificially created scale of manufacturing, and there may be determined by the different legislations or agreements between the parties. So in this way, in the modern legislation, having a long history of its development, the problem of equivalent measurement of the object of the corresponding legal relations as a rule has already received, and that is why it is said that justice is nothing but the positive law for the stronger class. So equivalence manifests itself most obviously in the sphere of private law, in the sphere of public law, especially in legal relations based on the public principles of imperativeness. Equivalence is less pronounced, but nevertheless it exists, hosting or losing a commercial mercantile nature of a private interest and rises to the level of the highest legal and moral values. So now let us see how the concept of positivism that has been related with the equivalence. So let's see what are the positivism and legal principles. So great philosopher Dworkin, he argues that in deciding the hard cases, judges often invoke legal principles that do not derive their authority from an official act of promulgation. So these principles must be characterized as law because judges are bound to consider them when relevant. But if unpromulgated legal principles constitute the law, then it is false. Contra the pedigree thesis that a proposition of law is valid only in virtue of having been formally promulgated. So the rules are applicable in all or nothing fashion. If the facts a rule stipulates are given, then the either rule is valid. So here the principle provides competing reasons that must be weighed according to the importance of respective values and expresses. So in his theory, Dworkin has also given different cases how the positivism is working and how the legal principles they are related with the principle of positivism. Now, when we are thinking about the equivalence theory of justice, does justice has such boundaries? Justice is perhaps giving people what they are due. So, to whom the justice is owed? Historically, full political equality has expanded. So we can see that recognition of white property owning the males, recognition of white females, immigrants, members of minority ethnic groups, gays and Lebanese. So the other category. So what is the scope of justice? Justice is not only about the courts and legal systems, but they do something fundamental principles that are required to give satisfaction to the particular class which is suppressed by the customs and traditions which are evil in the society. So now the further set of problems that you can see that if we consider an act that others are due, question of what human beings in other countries are due becomes increasingly important. Are there basic human rights for them? Are the rights required supranational legal institutions to see that they are recognized? So, in domestic theory and international theory, the concept of justice is different what is applied in the law. So, particularly when equivalence theories of law and justice is discussed, there are three important common facets that shared by the social justice activists in the social sciences and education. So that is, education and research are not neutral. Society can be transformed by the engagement of politically conscious persons, and praxis connects laboratory education with social transformation. Social justice theoreticians generally focus their research and pedagogical efforts towards the ways in which class, race, gender, sexual orientation, and systems of the lower influence or power influence our conceptions of the knowledge, the knowing subject, and the practices of inquiry and justification of the society. So, one common aim of engaged inquiry identifies ways in which dominant conceptions and practices of knowledge they are systematically disadvantaged subordinated groups. So, emerged educators strive to reform these conceptions and practices so that they serve the interest of social justice and social equality. કેવી રીતે આપણે સોશિયલ જસ્ટિસ કરી શકાય અને સોશિયલ જસ્ટિસને આપણે ઇક્વિવેલન્સ થિયરીના તરાજુમાં પારડામાં આપણે એમને વેઇ કરી શકાય, એમને એક સમાન ન્યાય આપણે તોડી શકાય. સો ડોમિનન્ટ નોલેજ પ્રેક્ટિસિસ ડિસએડવાન્ટેજ ટુ ધ સબઓર્ડિનેટ ગ્રુપ્સ. કેવી રીતે? એક્સક્લુડિંગ ધેમ ફ્રોમ ઇન્ક્વાયરી. જે આપણે કહ્યું છે કે જસ્ટિસ ઇઝ નથિંગ બટ ધ પોઝિટિવિઝમ ફોર ધ સ્ટ્રોંગર ક્લાસ. એટલે જેના હાથમાં બળ છે, જેની પાસે તાકાત છે, એ તાકાત પૈસાની હોઈ શકે, અધિકારનું હોઈ શકે, પાવરનું હોઈ શકે, એ વધારે પાવરફુલ થઈ જાય અને પછી ન્યાય પણ એના જ ભાગે થતું હોય છે. એ જે વસ્તુ છે એને જ અહીંયા બીજી રીતે કહેવામાં આવ્યું છે કે જે સ્ટ્રોંગર ક્લાસ છે, જે ડોમિનન્ટ ક્લાસ છે, એ બીજાને દૂર રાખે છે, excluding them from the inquiry, denying them from epistemic authority, denegating them from their cognitive style and models of knowledge, producing theories that represent them to inferior, deviant or significant. આપણે સીધા અને સાદા વર્ડ્સમાં કહીએ તો એન્શન્ટ હિન્દુ સોશિયોલોજીમાં આપણે જે સમાજ પદ્ધતિ હતી, સમાજ વ્યવસ્થા હતી, એમાં જાતિ આધારિત અને વર્ણ આધારિત વ્યવસ્થા હતી. ત્યારે શિક્ષણ એ ફક્ત સવર્ણ લોકોનો અધિકાર હતો અને જે બીજા કાસ્ટ હતા જેને આપણે થોડા ઉતરતી કક્ષાના કાસ્ટ તરીકે ત્યારે કહેવામાં આવતા હતા, એ લોકોને શિક્ષણના અધિકારથી પણ વંચિત રાખવામાં આવતું હતું. એટલું જ નહીં તો સમાજમાં સ્ત્રીઓની છોકરીઓની જે પોઝિશન છે એ પણ ઉતરતી કક્ષામાં હતી, ત્યારે એમને પણ શિક્ષણના અધિકારથી વંચિત રાખવામાં આવતો હતો. અને એક પ્રકારે જ્યારે એમને શિક્ષણનો અધિકાર જ નકારવામાં આવ્યો હોય ત્યારે એમનું પ્રગતિ કેવી રીતે થશે? તો આ રીતે જે જસ્ટિસ પણ હતું, એમનો ન્યાય પણ હતો, એ પોતાના બુદ્ધિથી અને પોતાના વિચારશક્તિથી જ લેવાનું હતું. ત્યારે જે ક્લાસને નોલેજ જ નથી, એજ્યુકેશન જ નથી, એ લોકો પર અન્યાય થતો હતો. તો આ જે વ્યવસ્થા હતી એ ડોમિનન્ટ ક્લાસના હાથમાં હતી. જે પુરુષ પ્રધાન સંસ્કૃતિ છે, જે વર્ણ સંસ્થા આધારિત સંસ્કૃતિ છે, એમાં જે ઉચ્ચ નીચ ભેદભાવ હતો તે ઉચ્ચ કક્ષાના લોકો પૂરતા જ મર્યાદિત રહી ગયો હતો. તો એ જ થિયરી કહે છે કે ઇક્વિવેલન્સ થિયરી ઇઝ નથિંગ બટ ધ પોઝિટિવિઝમ દેટ ઇઝ ડિપેન્ડિંગ ઓન ધ સ્ટ્રોંગર ક્લાસ ઓર ઇન ધ હેન્ડ્સ ઓફ સ્ટ્રોંગર ક્લાસ. So this is in this way the various difficulties in concept of justice or applying the concept of justice that also contradict the principles of equivalence theory. Then whether the justice is a positive law for the stronger class. Why it has been statement done in such argument? The increasing disparity between rich and poor, that along with the increasing global control through overt and covert wars. In Latin America also it has been seen that there was a discrimination between black and white. In the earlier Catholic Church about faith and transformation and liberation, there were contradictory statements from the different streams. Also, this creative theology atmosphere would have been seen in the work among both Catholic and Protestant thinkers in the earlier philosophers. So, this positivism, that theory is also not uniform in the two different streams. So this has intensified the reflections on the relation between faith and poverty and the gospel and social justice. Because as we have dharma as the source of our law, the Western countries, they have their religion, the church, the preaches from the church as a source of law in their own legislations. So this argued personal engagement in the world, backed up by studies of social and liberal sciences and illustrated by the universal principle of Christianity, that gives the concept of this positivism and justice. So the question arises whether justice depends on the law, whether it is depends on the legal positivism. So legal positivism is the thesis that the existence and content of law depends on social facets and not on its merits. The English jurist John Austin, who was in the period of 17th century, 17th and 18th century, he formulated it thus that the existence of law is one thing and its merits and demerits are another things. So the existence of law, whether it to be or not to be, is one inquiry. Whether it to be compatible to an assumed standard and is a different inquiry. So positivist thesis does not say that law's merits are intelligent or unintelligible, unimportant or peripheral or philosophical. It says that they do not determine whether the law or legal systems they exist. Whether a society have a legal system depends on the presence of certain structures or of the governance not on the extent to which it satisfies the ideals of justice, democracy, or rule of law. So, what laws are in force in that system depends on what social standards its officials recognize as authoritative. For example, the legislative enactments, judicial decisions, or social custom. So, the fact that a policy would be just, wise, efficient, and prudent is never sufficient reason for thinking that it is actually the law. And the fact that it is unjust, unwise, insufficient, or inefficient, or imprudent is never sufficient reason for doubting it. So, according to positivism, law is a matter of what has been posted, that is, ordered, or decided, or practiced, or tolerated. As we might say, it is more than a modern ideal. So, positivism is the view that law is a social construction. ઓસ્ટિન જે કહ્યું છે કે પોઝિટિવિઝમ એ અલગ અલગ લોનું એપ્લિકેબિલિટી, એની ઇફેક્ટિવનેસ એ જજ કરવાનો તરાજુ નથી. એ સોસાયટીએ કેવી રીતે એક્સેપ્ટ કર્યો છે અને એને કેવી રીતે ફોલો કરે છે, એ પોઝિટિવિઝમ છે. પોઝિટિવિઝમ ઇઝ ધ વ્યૂ that the law is a social construction. એ સમાજે પોતે જ એને રચનાત્મક રીતે અપ્લાય કરવાનું શરૂ કર્યું છે. Austin thought that the thesis simple and glaring. While it is probably the dominant view among analytically inclined philosophers of law, it is also the subject of competing interpretations together with persistent criticism and misunderstandings. So this way, how it becomes legal positivism has a long history and a broad influence. So in the medieval period, in the medieval legal and political thought, it was self-introduced. So modern doctrine, however, owes little to the forebears. So its most important root lie in the conventionalist political philosophers, Hobbes and Hume. So they have given the best theory. Then first full elaboration was done by Jeremy Bentham, Austin also. Then so this philosophy of the legal positivism, it emphasizes on legislative institutions and law applying institutions such as courts. Its insistence and the role of coercive force gave away to theories emphasizing systematic and normative character of the law. So the most important architect of this revised positivism is the Australian jurist Hans Kelsen. Hans Kelsen has given analytical positivism, and that concept has been given the theory of positivism. So legal positivism's importance, however, is not confined to the philosophy of law. It can be seen throughout the social theory, particularly in the works of Marx, then Weber, Durkheim. So among many lawyers, including the American legal realists and most contemporary feminist scholars. And this way, the level of legal positivism has been given to the theory of law. So, what is the philosophically literate people thinking about the legal positivism? So, legal positivism is here sometimes associated with the homonomic or independent doctrines of legal or logical positivism. The meaning of a sentence is its mode of verification, or sociological positivism. Social phenomena can be studied only through the methods of natural sciences. So while there are historically connections, the commonalities of temper among these ideas that essentially different. So when we are thinking that it is nothing more than the concept of positivism, So we must understand so how the positivism has been accepted by the society at large. So students, the theory of justice, the equivalence theory of justice, and justice is nothing but positivism for the stronger class, how it relates to the social order, acceptability of the law by society, and its application. So we have to think about it and we have to study on that point only. So this part of the unit 5, relation of the law and justice, that 5.1 we have completed, and we will take a next lecture in on next topic. So for today, the equivalence theories, justice as nothing more than the positive law for the stronger class, that we have finished, and then we will see the dependency theory.